Hey makers, it's Laura from OpenWorks. Today I'm going to show you the different steps to bottle your beer. You've been very patient, thank you. And so you're going to go through the cleaning and sanitizing portion of all of the equipment that you use as well as the bottles, because at this point anything that touches the beer could potentially infect it. It's been at room temperature fermenting for like 3 to a month, which is fine. You can really go to about a month for ales or room temperature fermented beers. And so we're about to take off the cover and see what it looks like. I want to spray the top where the airlock is and the lid just to make sure that nothing funky gets in there. So I'm going to do a little wiggle woggle to get it out and then take a look. Looks pretty good. There's a little bit of kind of what looks like mold at the top here, but that doesn't concern me because it's at the top, and this is why we have this water barrier to prevent things like that from the air getting into your beer. So this showed me that it works. So I'm gonna put this aside, and then you can kind of smell the beer. It smells amazing. And I'm gonna take the lid off of the fermentation bucket. Ooh. So as y'all can see, we have sort of bubbly surfaces to the beer, and that stuff on the side is called trub, spelled T-R-U-B, and that's perfectly fine. This is exactly what we want to see. No weird giant bubbles or weird formations. This looks pretty excellent. And after you've opened your bucket and made sure that everything looks healthy, so no big green splotches, no weird giant iridescent bubbles that show us that things got into your beer, and again, this is really healthy looking. We want to take a hydrometer reading to make sure that it actually became beer. So for me, I'm less concerned with numbers and more concerned with that it actually happened, because I'm just brewing for myself and for people in my life. I'm not really brewing for anything specific. So I want to know that it's about the range that it needs to be. So once you've cleaned, again, best friend, give it a good spray. And this is the Star San concentrate mixed into a bottle. You go over the bucket and you do a little spin. You want to make sure your hands are clean. Little and drop. This is a beer and winemaking hydrometer. So it's in the green, which means it's beer finish. You can get really nitty-gritty with the numbers too and do ABV or alcohol by volume conversion. But for my process, I just want to know that it's beer. And it's beautiful. And so we made an Irish stout, so you can really smell that richness coming through, which is wonderful. And so now I've cleaned and sanitized everything. And if you're curious about cleaning and sanitizing and more into that process, you can go back and watch that episode. So I'm going to take my auto siphon, which is just an easier way to siphon liquid from one bucket to another, but I'm going to use gravity as my friend. So this is the 5 gallons of fermented beer that's now beer, and this is my bottling bucket. So this bucket is going to help me put it into bottles and be able to age it and then share it. And so you're going to put this wand, which kind of acts like a pump, into the beer, but you want to be careful not to land it on the bottom because there's a lot of sediment. You're going to put this into the bottling bucket and make sure that the spigot is closed. And so I'm going to double check, and it's on the on position, which means that it's open. So if I were to transfer the beer right now, it would spill all over the floor, which I've done before. We would like to avoid that. We want to keep beer in our bucket. And so at this point, you want to grab your priming sugar to reignite the yeast. And so you can use corn sugar, you can use maple sugar, but the different types of sugar have different fermentability. Make sure that you're choosing the right amount of sugar for the style of beer you're making. Have you ever used an auto siphon?
Never.
First time, so it's very user friendly. So what you do, Ryan, is you lift it up. Up, 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 up. Ooh, there's the beer. Now you push it down. And that's it. Did it come out? Oh, give it another push. Another pump. And down. And so you want to pump until you got an even flow. At this point, the beer is beer. But if we want carbonation, we need to add a little more sugar to reinvigorate the yeast. So as it's bottled, or in each bottle, it will create more bubbles so that each bottle will be what we call bottle conditioned. And at this point, we want to add our priming sugar solution. So that it starts to mix in as the flow is going. When you get beer from a brewery or from a bar, not that we can do that right now, or a canned beer, that's what's called forced carbonation. And so rarely do breweries actually bottle condition or do this process where they add more sugar before bottling or canning or kegging. You can do that, and some breweries do something like that, especially with specialty bottles, but it's more assembly line manufacturing sense as well as economical to just have gas and forced carbonation in it. So after they make the beer, they put CO2 usually in the beer to create those bubbles. And you should get about 4 to 4.5 gallons yield, because there's definitely going to be some sediment left in the bottom. Now, I had some issues with my auto siphon. The vacuum was a little funky, and so the seal wasn't great. And so I lost a little bit of yield, but that's okay. You want to give it a final mix to make sure the sugar is evenly distributed through your beer. Now, putting it in at the beginning helps do that, but you want to mix it in really well here, because otherwise you're going to have some bottles with more sugar than others, which might lead to uneven carbonation and maybe some bottle explosions. Here.
2 beers.
How many?
Beers.